Most people spend their entire lives chasing happiness without ever stopping to ask themselves one simple question. What if happiness was never meant to be chased? What if the very thing you've been searching for has been waiting inside you all along, buried beneath fear, excuses, distractions, and the endless noise of the world? Think about it. How many times have you told yourself, "I'll be happy when I make more money. I'll be happy when people respect me. I'll be happy when life finally becomes easier"? But life doesn't work that way. The finish line keeps moving. The promotion comes and suddenly you want another one. The house gets bigger, but so do your worries. The applause becomes louder, yet somehow the silence inside grows even louder. And one day you wake up realizing you've spent years climbing a mountain that was never yours to climb. The greatest deception the modern world ever sold you is the idea that happiness exists somewhere outside yourself. It doesn't. Happiness is built. It is built through discipline. It is built through perspective. It is built every single day through the choices you make when no one is watching. Because life will never arrive one morning and announce, "Congratulations, from today onward, everything will be perfect." There will always be another problem, another disappointment, another challenge, another storm waiting around the corner. The question isn't whether storms will come. The question is, who will you become when they do? Because storms reveal character, they don't create it. Several hundred years ago, deep in the mountains of China, a young monk arrived at a Shaolin temple. He believed he had traveled there to learn how to fight. He imagined powerful kicks, ancient techniques, secret knowledge that would make him unstoppable. But on his first morning, before sunrise, the master handed him a wooden bucket. "Fetch water." The young monk obeyed. The next morning, the same bucket, the same river, the same steep mountain path. Again and again for weeks, then months, no martial arts, no fighting, no lessons, only silence, only work. One evening, frustrated, the young monk finally asked, "Master, when will my real training begin?" The old master smiled. "It already has." The monk looked confused. The master pointed toward the bucket. "Every morning you wanted excitement. I gave you repetition. Every morning you wanted glory. I gave you discipline, because anyone can be motivated for one day, but only the disciplined become unshakable." The young monk finally understood. The greatest battle wasn't against another opponent. It was against himself, against impatience, against ego. Against the constant desire for something easier. That battle still exists today, only now the mountain looks different. The bucket has changed. Instead of carrying water, you carry stress, expectations, bills, relationships, responsibilities. Every single day life hands you another bucket, and every single day you choose how you carry it. With gratitude or resentment, with strength or excuses. That choice shapes your future more than any amount of talent ever could. Look around, people are exhausted, not because life is impossible, but because they're constantly fighting battles inside their own minds. They replay conversations from years ago. They worry about problems that haven't happened yet. They compare their lives to people they've never met. And little by little, their own thoughts become their prison. But here's something most people never realize. The strongest prison has no walls. It is built from the stories you repeat to yourself every single day. "I'll never be enough. I'm too late. I'm unlucky. I'm not talented. I'm always overlooked." Say something often enough, and eventually your mind mistakes repetition for truth. But here's the beautiful part. If your thoughts can imprison you, they can also set you free. Because every day you have the power to choose a different story, not a fake story. Not blind optimism, a stronger story. Instead of saying, life is against me, ask, what is life trying to teach me? Instead of saying, everything is falling apart, ask, what part of me is being rebuilt? One question creates suffering, the other creates growth. The situation may stay exactly the same, but you become completely different, and when you change, everything changes. There is a Japanese art form called kintsugi. When a beautiful bowl breaks, the artist doesn't throw it away, he carefully gathers every broken piece. Then, instead of hiding the cracks, he fills them with liquid gold. The fracture becomes the masterpiece. The broken places become the most beautiful part of the entire bowl. Think about that. Most people spend their lives trying to hide their scars, trying to pretend they were never hurt, never rejected, never broken. But your scars are not proof that you failed. They are proof that you survived. The strongest people aren't those who never suffered. They're the ones who refuse to stay broken. Your pain has two jobs. It can either become your prison or it can become your teacher. The decision belongs to you. Every single day, have you ever noticed how bamboo grows? For years, nothing seems to happen. You water it, protect it, care for it, and still, nothing breaks through the ground. Most people would quit. They'd assume nothing is growing. But underneath the soil, something extraordinary is happening. The roots are spreading deeper, stronger, preparing for a future nobody can yet see. Then suddenly, within just a few weeks, the bamboo shoots dozens of feet into the sky. People call it overnight success, but it wasn't overnight. The growth was simply invisible. Your life works exactly the same way. The mornings you wake up early, the workouts no one applauds, the books you read, the discipline nobody notices, the quiet decisions to become better instead of bitter. They are all roots, invisible today, unstoppable tomorrow. Never confuse invisible progress with no progress. Some of the greatest transformations happen long before anyone else can see them. The world teaches you to measure success by applause, likes, followers, money, recognition, but real growth happens in silence. When nobody is cheering, when nobody believes in you, when nobody even notices, that is where character is forged. Because if your motivation depends on applause, your discipline will disappear the moment the crowd goes home. You must become someone who can clap for yourself, someone who keeps showing up even when nobody else is watching. Because one day the world will call you lucky. They'll admire your confidence, your peace, your strength. They'll wonder what your secret was. They won't see the mornings you chose discipline over comfort, the evenings you stayed focused while everyone else gave up, the lonely moments when you kept building even though nothing seemed to be changing. That's the price of greatness, and it's worth paying. Every sunrise asks you one question: who will lead today? Your excuses, or your purpose, your emotions, or your principles, your fears, or your faith in who you can become. Because your emotions are wonderful servants, but terrible leaders. Some mornings you'll wake up inspired. Most mornings you won't. That's why discipline matters more than motivation. Motivation is weather. Discipline is climate. Weather changes. Climate defines everything. Stop waiting to feel ready. Stop waiting for confidence. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. The perfect moment has never existed. It never will. Action creates confidence. Discipline creates peace. Consistency creates happiness, not someday, starting today, because happiness isn't waiting for you at the end of the road. It is built with every step you choose to take, And in the next lesson, you'll discover the greatest mistake almost everyone makes, the silent habit that steals joy before the day has even begun. Once you recognize it, you'll never look at your mornings the same way again. Every morning, before the world sends you its emails, its problems, its expectations, or its noise, there is a battle taking place. It happens in complete silence. No one sees it, no one applauds it, but that battle determines the quality of your entire day. The moment your eyes open, your mind immediately begins asking questions. Should I get up? Maybe just 5 more minutes. I'm too tired. Today is going to be difficult. Most people lose the day before they ever leave the bed. Not because they lack intelligence, not because they lack opportunity, but because they surrender to the first voice they hear. That voice isn't always your friend. Sometimes it's fear wearing the mask of comfort. Sometimes it's doubt pretending to protect you. Sometimes it's yesterday trying to convince you that tomorrow will be the same. The truth is this: the first person you must lead every morning is yourself. If you cannot command your own mind, you will spend the rest of the day being commanded by your circumstances. That is why the greatest leaders don't begin their mornings by checking the world. They begin by checking themselves. Before they answer anyone else, they answer their own spirit. Before they solve the world's problems, they decide who they are going to be. Because your morning doesn't simply start your day, it programs it. Years ago, a marathon runner was asked what he thought about during the final miles of a race. People expected him to talk about victory, the cheering crowd, the finish line. Instead, he smiled and said something unexpected. The hardest part isn't the last mile. It's the first step out of bed at 5 o'clock every morning. Think about that. Champions are not created on race day. They're created in ordinary mornings while everyone else is sleeping. They are choosing discipline while everyone else is negotiating with excuses. They are keeping promises to themselves. The medals simply reveal what those mornings built. The same is true for your life. Success doesn't suddenly appear one Friday afternoon. Peace doesn't magically arrive after one lucky break. Confidence isn't purchased, it is earned. It is earned every time you keep a promise to yourself when nobody would have known if you had broken it. That is why integrity begins long before anyone is watching. It begins with the promises you make to yourself. And whether you keep them, there is something incredibly dangerous about comfort, not because comfort is evil, but because it whispers instead of shouting. Comfort never says, destroy your dreams. Instead it says, you deserve one more day, start tomorrow, rest a little longer. It isn't that important. One day becomes 1 week. 1 week becomes 1 month. 1 month quietly becomes another year. Then, one morning, you wake up wondering where your life went. Dreams rarely disappear in one dramatic moment. Most dreams die quietly, one comfortable decision at a time, one postponed conversation, one delayed opportunity, one excuse repeated until it sounds like truth. That is why discipline is an act of self-respect. Every disciplined decision is a vote for the person you want to become. Every excuse is a vote for the person you're trying to leave behind. The question is not, what do I feel like doing today? The better question is, what would the strongest version of me choose right now? Ask yourself that often enough, and eventually you become the answer. An old sculptor was once asked how he carved such magnificent statues from enormous blocks of stone. He smiled and replied, I never create the masterpiece. I simply remove everything that doesn't belong. What an extraordinary way to look at life. Maybe you don't need to become someone else. Maybe you simply need to remove what has been covering your true self. The fear, the resentment, the jealousy, the endless comparison, the excuses you've repeated for years, the need for everyone's approval. Every day you carry emotional weight that was never yours to carry. Old arguments, old failures, old opinions, old labels. Someone once told you that you weren't good enough. Years later, you're still carrying their words. Ask yourself honestly, why are you allowing someone else's opinion to rent space inside your mind without paying for it? You deserve better than that. You deserve peace, but peace requires letting go. Not because what happened didn't matter, but because your future matters more. Forgiveness is not saying what happened was acceptable. Forgiveness is saying, I refuse to let yesterday steal another day of my life. That is freedom. And freedom is where happiness begins. Have you ever watched a river when a giant rock blocks its path? The river doesn't become angry, it doesn't complain, it doesn't turn around, it simply keeps flowing. Day after day, drop after drop, until eventually, even stone begins to move. The river teaches us one of life's greatest lessons. Consistency defeats resistance, not force, not anger, not panic, consistency. Your dreams don't require explosive effort once a month. They require small acts repeated every single day. Read one chapter, take one walk, keep one promise. Speak one kind word, practice one better habit. The world celebrates dramatic moments. Life rewards consistent ones. But here's something that almost nobody tells you. Discipline without purpose eventually becomes exhaustion. You cannot simply force yourself forever. You need a reason greater than comfort. Why do you want to become stronger? Why do you want peace? Why do you want happiness? If your answer is shallow, your effort will be shallow. Purpose gives discipline direction. Without purpose, discipline feels like punishment. With purpose, discipline becomes freedom. The people who inspire the world aren't always the most talented. They simply remember why they started. Every single day, and whenever life knocks them down, their purpose lifts them back up. Find a reason that makes your excuses sound small. Then protect that reason with everything you have. The modern world trains your attention to live everywhere except the present moment. Your phone vibrates, another notification, another headline, another opinion, another comparison, without realizing it. Your peace slowly disappears. You begin carrying burdens that don't even belong to you. The mind becomes crowded. The heart becomes restless. Your spirit becomes tired. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do isn't adding more. It's subtracting. Turn off the noise, walk without headphones, watch the sunrise, sit in silence, breathe deeply. Listen to the wind moving through the trees, because silence is not empty. Silence is where clarity speaks. The loudest world creates the weakest attention. The quietest mind creates the strongest life. Don't be afraid of silence. Be afraid of never hearing your own thoughts, because the world's noise never stops. Imagine standing at the base of a mountain. The summit disappears into the clouds. From where you're standing, it looks impossible. Most people turn back, not because they can't climb it, but because they try to climb the whole mountain in their imagination. They overwhelm themselves before taking the first step. The wise climber thinks differently. He doesn't climb mountains. He climbs the next step, then the next, then one more. Eventually, the impossible becomes inevitable. Your life works the same way. Don't ask, how will I change everything? Ask, what is my next right step? One decision, one conversation, one workout, one page, one prayer, one act of courage. That is enough. Great lives are not built in giant leaps. They are built through ordinary moments repeated with extraordinary commitment before this day ends. Someone may disappoint you, plans may change, unexpected problems may arrive. You cannot control every event. But you can always control your response. Remember this: no person has the authority to decide your attitude without your permission. No failure has the power to define your future unless you allow it. No difficult season lasts forever. Everything passes: the storm, the pain, the uncertainty, everything. But the person you become while walking through those storms, that stays with you forever. So stand tall, choose your thoughts carefully, protect your peace fiercely. Lead yourself with courage, and when tomorrow morning arrives, win the first battle before the world even knows you're awake. Because that's how extraordinary lives are built, not in one spectacular moment, but in thousands of quiet victories that nobody else ever sees. And in the next chapter, we'll uncover the invisible enemy that steals more dreams than failure ever could, the hidden trap of comparison, and why learning to master your own path is the beginning of true freedom. There is an invisible enemy that steals more dreams than failure ever could. It doesn't kick down your door. It doesn't announce its arrival. It quietly enters your mind, disguising itself as ambition. Its name is comparison. The moment you begin measuring your life against someone else's journey, you stop appreciating your own. You scroll through pictures of success and assume you're falling behind. You see someone driving a better car, building a bigger business, living in a larger house, traveling to places you've never been. And suddenly the blessings you prayed for last year no longer seem enough. That is the trap. Comparison doesn't make you stronger. It makes you blind, blind to your own progress, blind to your own victories, blind to the incredible distance you've already traveled. You begin chasing someone else's definition of success instead of discovering your own. But let me ask you something. If you spend your entire life trying to become someone else, who will become the person you were born to be? The world doesn't need another copy, it needs the original you. Many years ago, two young trees were planted side by side. One grew quickly. Within only a few years, it stood tall above everything around it. The second tree grew painfully slowly. Season after season, it hardly seemed to change. The first tree mocked it. "Look how far behind you are. You'll never catch me." The smaller tree never answered. It simply kept growing beneath the surface. Then one year, a violent storm swept across the valley. The fast-growing tree had shallow roots. The powerful winds ripped it from the ground, but the slower tree remained standing. Its roots had spent years reaching deep into the earth. What looked like slow progress had actually been wise preparation. Never envy someone's speed. You don't know the depth of their roots. Some people bloom early, some bloom later. Neither is better. Nature never rushes, yet everything arrives exactly when it should. So does your life. Stop asking, "Why am I not there yet?" Instead ask, "What is this season preparing me for?" Because every season has a purpose. Winter teaches endurance, spring teaches hope, summer teaches gratitude, autumn teaches release. If you reject one season, you never receive the wisdom it came to deliver. Gratitude is one of the greatest forms of strength, not because it changes your circumstances overnight, but because it changes the eyes through which you see them. Imagine two people waking up on the same rainy morning. One complains, "What a terrible day." The other smiles. The earth is being watered. The rain never changed, only the perspective did. Your perspective is the lens through which your entire life is experienced. Change the lens and you change your world. Gratitude doesn't ignore pain. It simply refuses to let pain become the whole story. Yes, life is difficult, but life is also beautiful. Yes, you have challenges, but you also have opportunities. Yes, someone disappointed you, but someone else believed in you. The human mind naturally focuses on what is missing. Wisdom teaches it to notice what remains. Every morning before you ask for more, pause long enough to appreciate what you already have. Your heartbeat, your breath, another sunrise, another chance. Millions of people would trade everything they own for just one more day. Never forget how precious this one is. There is an old traveler who spent decades climbing mountains across the world. One day, someone asked him, "What is the most important thing you've learned?" They expected him to describe the highest peaks, the greatest adventures. Instead, he quietly replied, "I stopped trying to conquer mountains. I learned to let mountains conquer me." The people listening looked confused. He smiled. "Every mountain humbled my ego. Every climb taught me patience. Every difficult path introduced me to a stronger version of myself. That is how life works. The obstacle is rarely your enemy. It is your teacher. Every disappointment is asking, 'What are you becoming?' Every setback whispers, 'Grow stronger.' Every delay asks, 'Can you stay faithful without immediate results?' Most people pray for easier lives. The wise pray for stronger character because character survives storms. Comfort rarely does. One of the greatest lies fear ever tells you is this: you must know everything before you begin. No, you don't. The bird doesn't trust the branch, it trusts its wings. Think about that when the wind shakes the tree. The bird doesn't panic because its confidence isn't built upon the branch. It's built upon what it has become. Your confidence should never depend on your circumstances. Build it upon your character. Money can disappear. Jobs can change. Relationships can end. But the discipline you've built, the wisdom you've earned, the courage you've developed, those remain yours forever. Invest more in becoming than in possessing, because who you are will always be more valuable than what you own. Look at the ocean. Every wave crashes against the shore. Again, again, again. Does the ocean complain? Does it quit? No, it simply continues. Persistence is one of nature's greatest lessons. Success doesn't belong to the loudest, it belongs to the most consistent. Every masterpiece was once an unfinished idea. Every champion was once a beginner. Every confident person once doubted themselves. The difference wasn't talent. It was persistence. One more attempt, one more lesson, one more day, one more step. That is how extraordinary lives are created. Not through dramatic moments, but through ordinary courage repeated thousands of times. The greatest prison isn't failure. It is the fear of failure. Fear convinces people to stay where they are, to settle, to hide, to wait for certainty that never comes. But certainty is an illusion. Life has never promised guarantees. It only offers opportunities. The people who transform their lives aren't fearless. They simply decide that growth matters more than comfort. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It is moving forward while fear walks beside you. Every meaningful decision you've ever made contained uncertainty, and every meaningful decision still led you somewhere better. Don't let fear become your landlord. Don't let doubt collect rent inside your mind. You have dreams waiting on the other side of one courageous decision. Take it. Now imagine yourself standing before a mirror. Not the mirror hanging on your wall, the mirror of your soul. Look closely. Forget your job, forget your age, forget your achievements, forget your failures. Who do you see? Do you see someone constantly apologizing for taking up space? Or do you see someone capable of extraordinary things? Because the conversation you have with yourself, becomes the relationship you have with life. Speak to yourself with honesty, but also with compassion. You are still learning, still growing, still becoming. Don't insult the person who is trying to improve. Encourage them, lead them, believe in them, because if you cannot become your own ally, the world will never be enough. Remember this truth: comparison steals peace, gratitude restores it, fear steals action, purpose restores it. Comfort steals growth, discipline restores it, and every single day, life quietly asks you one question. What will you choose today? Choose gratitude over resentment. Choose courage over comfort. Choose progress over perfection. Choose becoming over pretending. Because one day you'll look back and realize that happiness never arrived all at once. It was quietly built through thousands of small decisions, made on ordinary days, when no one else was watching. And those ordinary days created an extraordinary life. In the next chapter, everything changes. We'll explore why pain is not your enemy, how suffering can become your greatest teacher, and the life-changing difference between carrying your wounds and allowing them to carry you. Every person listening to these words is carrying something. Some carry disappointment, some carry regret, some carry heartbreak, some carry dreams that seem farther away today than they did yesterday, and some carry wounds that no one else can see. The remarkable thing about pain is that it rarely announces itself. People smile while silently breaking inside. They laugh while carrying unbearable weight. They tell everyone they're fine, because explaining the truth feels too exhausting. But hear me carefully, pain is not your enemy. Pain is your messenger. Ignore it, and it will continue knocking. Listen to it, and it becomes one of the greatest teachers you'll ever have. The question is not whether life will hurt you. It will. The question is whether your pain will become your prison or your preparation, because every hardship places two doors in front of you. One leads toward bitterness, the other leads toward wisdom. You choose which one to walk through. There is a story about a blacksmith that has been passed down for generations. Every morning before sunrise, he stood before a blazing furnace. He would place a rough piece of steel into the fire. The heat became unbearable. The metal glowed bright orange. Then came the hammer, again, again, again. A young apprentice watched this process for months before finally asking, "Master, how do you know when the sword is finished?" The old blacksmith smiled. "When it has survived every strike without losing its shape." Think about that. The fire didn't destroy the steel. It revealed its strength. The hammer didn't weaken it. It gave it purpose. Your struggles are doing exactly the same thing. Every disappointment, every rejection, every lonely season, every failure, life isn't asking whether you're comfortable. Life is asking, what are you becoming? Because comfort has never produced greatness. Pressure has. Many people spend years asking, why is this happening to me? But there is a far more powerful question. What is this trying to teach me? That single change transforms suffering into growth. Maybe that failure taught you humility. Maybe that betrayal taught you discernment. Maybe that loss reminded you what truly matters. Maybe that lonely season taught you how to enjoy your own company. Not everything happens for a reason, but you can choose to find meaning in everything that happens. And meaning changes everything. When pain has purpose, it becomes easier to carry. Imagine an eagle. When storms begin to form, most birds rush to hide. They seek shelter beneath trees. They wait for the storm to pass. The eagle does something different. It flies toward the storm. Why? Because it understands something the other birds do not. The powerful winds that frighten everyone else actually lift the eagle higher than it could ever fly on a calm day. The storm becomes its advantage. Ask yourself honestly, have you been running from your storms or learning to rise above them? Every challenge contains hidden strength, but only those willing to face it ever discover it. Stop asking life to remove every obstacle. Instead, become someone obstacles cannot stop. One of the greatest mistakes people make is believing that healing means forgetting. It doesn't. Healing means remembering. Without being controlled by the memory, the scar remains, but the suffering no longer leads your life. Think about a tree after winter. Its branches appear lifeless. Its leaves have fallen. The world assumes it's finished. Yet beneath the frozen ground, life is quietly preparing another spring. Just because nothing appears to be happening doesn't mean growth has stopped. Maybe your life feels like winter right now. Maybe you're questioning everything. Your purpose, your future, your strength. Don't mistake the season for the ending. Winter has never defeated spring. And your current season will not define your final destination. Keep growing beneath the surface. There was once an elderly gardener who was known throughout his village for growing the most beautiful orchard anyone had ever seen. Visitors often asked him, "What fertilizer do you use? What seeds do you buy? What is your secret?" The old man would simply smile. Then one afternoon he gave the answer everyone had been waiting for. "I don't spend most of my time growing fruit. I spend my time protecting the roots." Those words contain extraordinary wisdom. Your habits are your roots. Your character is your roots. Your values are your roots, if the roots remain healthy. The fruit always arrives. Most people obsess over results. The wise focus on the process, because results are temporary. Character is permanent. Build your roots so deep that no storm can uproot you. You don't need everyone to understand your journey. Some people will doubt you. Some will criticize you. Some will laugh before they applaud. Let them. An oak tree doesn't stop growing because someone prefers flowers. The sun doesn't stop shining because someone complains about the heat. Nature never asks permission to become what it was created to be. Neither should you. Stop shrinking yourself to fit inside someone else's expectations. Stop apologizing for wanting a meaningful life. Stop explaining your dreams to people committed to living without their own. Not everyone is meant to understand your vision. Protect it anyway. Silence is a form of strength. The world teaches you to react instantly. Answer immediately. Defend yourself constantly. Respond to every opinion. Argue every criticism. But the strongest people know something different. Not every battle deserves your energy. Not every opinion deserves your attention. Not every insult deserves your response. A lion does not lose sleep over the opinion of sheep. Your energy is limited. Spend it building, not defending. Spend it creating, not complaining. Spend it becoming, not convincing. Sometimes the greatest victory is walking away with your peace still intact. One afternoon, a wise teacher filled a glass of water. He dropped a handful of salt into it and asked his student to drink. The student immediately spat it out. "It's bitter." The teacher nodded. Then they walked together to a nearby lake. The teacher poured the same handful of salt into the vast water. "Now drink." The student smiled. "The water is fresh." The teacher quietly said, "The pain was the same. The difference was the space surrounding it." Be like the lake. Expand your mind. Expand your heart. Expand your perspective when your spirit grows larger. The same pain that once overwhelmed you becomes something you can carry with grace. Don't spend your life trying to remove every difficulty. Become bigger than your difficulties. That is real strength. Here's a truth that changed my life. You cannot control every chapter, but you can decide how you write the next page. Yesterday may have been painful. Last year may have been difficult. Perhaps people betrayed you. Perhaps opportunities disappeared. Perhaps you lost something you deeply loved. None of that has the authority to define today. Every sunrise quietly whispers, you may begin again, not because yesterday didn't matter, but because today still does. The strongest people are not those who never fall. They are the ones who refuse to let falling become their identity. Stand up again and again and again, because resilience is not measured by how many times life knocks you down. It is measured by how many times you choose to rise. As this journey continues, remember one thing above all else. Pain is temporary, character is lasting, failure is an event, it is never your identity. Your past may explain you, but it does not own you. Every difficult season has been preparing you for the person you are becoming. One day you will look back at the battles you once begged to escape and realize they were the very moments that shaped your greatest strength. In the final chapter, we'll bring everything together. We'll discover why discipline, gratitude, purpose, courage, and resilience all lead to one extraordinary truth: that happiness isn't a destination waiting somewhere in the future. It is the person you choose to become. Every single day, take a deep breath, look back for a moment. Not at your failures, not at your regrets. Look at everything you've survived. Think about the battles you believed would destroy you. The nights you cried when no one was watching. The mornings you forced yourself to stand even when your heart felt heavy. The disappointments that almost convinced you to quit. Yet here you are, still breathing, still learning, still growing, still fighting. That alone should tell you something. You are far stronger than the voice inside your head has ever given you credit for. Most people underestimate themselves because they measure their strength by how often they fall. The wise measure it by how many times they rise. And every time you have chosen to rise, you have quietly become someone your past self would admire. Imagine your life as a garden. Every thought you entertain is a seed. Every habit you repeat is water. Every decision you make is sunlight. Now ask yourself honestly, what have you been growing? Have you been watering fear? Have you been feeding resentment? Have you allowed doubt to become the loudest voice in your life? Because weeds don't need permission to grow. They appear naturally. A beautiful garden requires intention. Every day you must remove negativity before it takes over. Every day you must plant gratitude, water discipline, protect your peace, feed your purpose. Eventually, your inner world becomes so strong that no storm can destroy what you've built. Remember, the quality of your life is determined by the quality of what you consistently cultivate. There is an ancient story about an old traveler walking through a village after a devastating wildfire. Homes had burned, fields were covered in ash. Many people stood staring at the destruction, convinced everything was over. But among them was one elderly farmer. Instead of crying, he quietly picked up a shovel. Someone asked, "Why are you planting seeds now? Everything is ruined." The old man smiled. "The fire destroyed yesterday's harvest. It did not destroy tomorrow's." Those words carry a truth every person needs to hear. Never confuse today's circumstances with tomorrow's possibilities. Your current situation is not your final destination. Failure is not final. Pain is not permanent. Delay is not denial. As long as you are willing to plant new seeds, life always offers another season. One day, people will ask you how you became so calm, how you remained steady while others panicked, how you kept believing when everyone else gave up. They'll assume you discovered some secret. There isn't one. You simply made one decision over and over again. You chose discipline instead of comfort, gratitude instead of bitterness, courage instead of fear. purpose instead of distraction, growth instead of excuses. You didn't become extraordinary in one dramatic moment. You became extraordinary through ordinary decisions repeated consistently. That is how every meaningful life is built. Quietly, patiently, one choice at a time. The world will continue trying to distract you. It will tell you that success is louder, faster, bigger, more expensive, but true success is much quieter than that. True success is sleeping peacefully because your conscience is clear. It is looking into the mirror and respecting the person looking back. It is keeping promises to yourself. It is walking through difficult seasons without losing your values. It is becoming someone whose happiness doesn't depend on applause. Because applause fades, character remains, money comes and goes, integrity stays, recognition rises and falls. Wisdom continues growing. Build the things no one can take away from you, your discipline, your humility, your courage, your kindness, your self-respect. These are treasures no market crash can erase, no criticism can steal, no setback can destroy. Think about the tallest lighthouse standing beside the ocean. It cannot stop storms. It cannot calm the waves. It cannot control the wind, but every night it continues to shine. That is its purpose. Not to eliminate darkness, but to provide direction within it. Become like the lighthouse. You cannot prevent every hardship. You cannot control every opinion. You cannot stop every disappointment. But you can become a source of light. For yourself, for your family, for your children, for strangers who desperately need hope. Sometimes the strongest thing you will ever say isn't spoken with words. It's spoken through the way you continue showing up with dignity. Never forget this. Life is not asking you to be perfect. It is asking you to be present, to keep learning, to keep improving, to keep becoming. Perfection creates pressure. Progress creates freedom. Stop punishing yourself for not being where you want to be. Celebrate the fact that you're no longer where you used to be. Every step matters. Every lesson matters. Every small improvement matters. Mountains are climbed one step at a time. Books are written one page at a time. Great lives are built one disciplined day at a time. Don't underestimate today's small decision. It may become tomorrow's defining moment. As this speech comes to an end, I want to leave you with one final story. An elderly man sat beside a river every sunrise. For years, people watched him. One morning, a young boy finally asked, "Why do you come here every single day?" The old man smiled as the first rays of sunlight touched the water. "Because every sunrise reminds me of something." "What does it remind you of?" the boy asked. The old man looked toward the horizon and quietly replied, "That life always gives me another chance to become the man I failed to be yesterday." The boy stood silently. The old man continued, "I cannot rewrite yesterday. I cannot erase my mistakes. I cannot change the words I've spoken or the opportunities I've missed. But every sunrise hands me one priceless gift, another opportunity to choose differently. That is the greatest gift life has ever given you. Not certainty, not comfort, not perfection, choice. Every morning you choose your attitude. Every morning you choose your standards. Every morning you choose your habits. Every morning you choose your response. Those choices become your character. And your character becomes your destiny. So from this day forward, stop waiting for happiness to arrive. Stop expecting the world to give you permission to live fully. Stop believing that peace exists somewhere in the future. It doesn't. It begins with the decision you make today. Lead your mind before your emotions lead you. Protect your peace more fiercely than your pride. Choose discipline when comfort whispers your name. Choose gratitude when comparison tries to steal your joy. Choose courage when fear tells you to stay small. Choose kindness even when the world becomes cold. Choose growth even when progress feels invisible. Because every one of those choices is another brick in the foundation of the life you're building. And one day, without even realizing exactly when it happened, people will look at you and say you're different. You seem peaceful, you seem confident, you seem unshakable. Smile quietly. Because you'll know the truth. It wasn't luck. It wasn't talent. It wasn't perfect circumstances. It was thousands of invisible decisions made when nobody else was watching. It was choosing discipline over excuses, purpose over distraction, gratitude over resentment, faith over fear. Again and again and again, and that is how extraordinary lives are built. So when you wake tomorrow morning, before you reach for your phone, before the noise of the world enters your mind, stand still for just one moment. Take one deep breath, look into the mirror and remind yourself, I will not let my circumstances decide who I become. I will lead my thoughts with wisdom. I will meet challenges with courage. I will build peace through discipline. I will choose gratitude over complaint. I will become stronger than my excuses. I will become greater than my fears. Because happiness is not something waiting for you at the end of the journey. It is built decision by decision, habit by habit, day by day, until one morning you realize something extraordinary. You were never searching for happiness. You were becoming it, and once you become it, nothing in this world can take it away. Thank you.